Rugby World Cup also in England for Team Namibia. Serving 2 masters, 2 sport codes. That meant Friday night I'm home, not home at my house. Friday night I'm at a soccer match. And rugby would have a match the next day, on the Saturday, a home game. Monday, Sundays would sometimes be recovery, but that would be skipped by those guys. Monday, there's training, like I said earlier, for soccer and rugby as earlier. Tuesday morning, take an early flight to another province if it's an away game. If it's a home game, you're going to camp with soccer, and that's something I had to get used to. Because I'm not sure how many people know what it means to go into camp. But it's basically the love of soccer players, unlike rugby players, to go sleep in a hotel the night before the match. I'm not sure if the coaches don't trust them, but the rugby players tend to arrive the morning of the match at the hotel or at the stadium where they train. But you would use the Tuesday when you land in the other side to treat as much as you can, stretch, massage. It's a match day on Wednesday. After the match, it's recovery time, ice baths, stretching, foam rolling. You complete your report, you sleep. I would then fly home the next morning, the Thursday morning, and I would go straight to rugby training in the morning. And football on that day, the day after the match, would only have recovery in the afternoon. If rugby plays away, unfortunately, the next day, that would mean that that very same afternoon of the morning I landed, I get on an aeroplane and I fly to the venue where we play. We train the Friday, we play Saturday, and then return Saturday evening. And or you pray, hopefully there's no soccer scheduled, and then you get home Sunday, but there could be a professional soccer match because of all the competitions involved. That unfortunately there's matches on a Sunday, Wednesday, and a Friday or Saturday. That's how tough it is for these guys. So I think if you're in a hospital job, sometimes that might just be the best thing to be grateful for. Then you do this, try and do this crazy thing, because I think it's just crazy. If you travel, some advice: protect your passport and know the rules of the country that you go to. Don't wait for the team to tell you. I stood in a queue to board a plane. I did not check who was behind me. It was one of my players, naughty player. He unzipped my bag, removed my passport, and by the time I got to the boarding gate, I was in panic. Luckily, somebody saw the culprit, so I got my passport. But you can imagine being part of management and not having looked after your passport. That's a very silly thing to do. So always make sure you know where your passport is. In rugby, unlike soccer, where soccer tends to dump everything on the assistants and the team manager, rugby has what they call duty boys. Duty boys is a group of players. It's normally one senior and a few junior players that get selected to assist different members of the management team. They could be assisting the physio to carry the beds and our equipment, or they could be assisting the team manager with the clothing, tackle bags, and the logistics man. My advice to you is overpack. Not just team clothes, extra clothes, then underpack. Because you never know, especially now, look at what happened with the Iran story. You could be stuck at an airport or town, and then you are in trouble. Regarding clothing, if you for the guys doing or aspiring to be working in Kenya, from Kenya, at the AFCON next year in Nairobi, FIFA and World Rugby issues massive fines. The last time I was involved, the fine was £5,000 if you firstly exposed anything, any logo of a non-sponsor, and if you were not wearing the official team clothes that your team wears. But you'll also notice if you watch rugby, even the laptop logos, Apple or Windows logo, get covered up. These two organizations do not tolerate ambush marketing. Always keep stock lists. If your team trains, start getting used to calculating what they use in training. At each match, record what you use so that you can start predicting what items you would need to pack in, and that makes life very easy for you. Because if you've got a good logistics manager who helps you, you can simply give him the list, and some of them, like if you work with the Springboks, they would do the packing for them. Unfortunately, with Rugby Africa, and it happened with my first soccer team, Rugby Africa only pays for one medical person. So you do not always have a doctor with you in Africa. So it's useful to know your drugs. So my team doctor would draw up a cheat list for me, and I'll be in contact with WhatsApp or phone calls with him and tell him my findings, and he would then advise. And please, we just had drama in South Africa about this issue with the doctor involved. Please remind any player that you help that at the end of the day, it is the duty of the player to watch what he puts in his mouth. There is WADA, the World Anti-Drug Organization, who's got a website that you can check. It easily explains to you what drugs can be taken in competition, out of competition, or that can't be taken. If you have to take a drug, there's a form called a Therapeutic Exemption Certificate, a TUE. Before you take the medicine, you ask your doctor to make sure that he completes the TUE, that he sends it to World Rugby or to FIFA. You wait for the answer, no matter what the situation is. Or you can, of course, if it's a life-threatening situation, make the decision to take it. But then you have the situation now that one of the South African Springbok players has been banned until after the next World Cup, unfortunately. And that was for taking medicine prescribed by a specialist. My advice to you, if you're with a team, please, if they tell you strapping finishes at 2 p.m., try to finish at 13:50. That 10 minutes will help you pack up your stuff because the players run. And if you late, you are going to be the person that gets fined. In Namibia, in Windhoek, our coach left us behind and I had to walk with my equipment to the field, about 15 kilometers, because the coach wasn't going to wait for tardy members of his management. And please, as nice as it looks for you to run on the field and people say, look, there is Stephen running on the field at the AFCON, nobody remembers the medical doctor or the physio that went on to help. We are expendable members of the team. I'll take you through a national teams training day program. Same like at home. Training in the gym starts at 5 a.m. and that can continue to 7:30 a.m. and that could include ice baths, recovery, foam rolling, stretching. But there's a catch to this thing. If there is, and that's what happened to us in Nairobi, out of a squad of 35 players, 20 had diarrhea, very badly. They were dehydrated. So we ended up sitting up throughout the whole night, checking up on these players every 2 hours. So if the player is sick and you don't have a doctor with you, or there's multiple players sick, you are not going to get any sleep in, or you sleep next to the player. But don't let them sleep on your bed, or you will be struggling to get them out of that bed. But training continues till 7:30. Breakfast starts at 8 a.m. till 9 a.m. But just notice, the team manager, even at the World Cup, puts strapping at 8:30. So if you think you left training at 7:30, breakfast starts at 8, you need to strap at 8:30, and basically you've got 20 minutes to eat food. And sometimes with soccer teams, the coaches expect you to watch what the players take in, especially on match day. And that could delay you. But I've rarely seen them giving me more than 45 minutes time to strap, even if it means strapping the whole team. So the team doctor, hopefully, if you've got a nice team doctor, if you can't strap, teaching to strap so that you can take the burden off you. But then the team normally departs, training till 11 o'clock. From 11 o'clock, treatment session number 1 starts for the physiotherapist till 1 o'clock. Lunch is at 1. And look again, 1:30, strapping starts. And some treatment and training starts at 3 o'clock, takes you to 4:30. You get off the bus into the hotel. There's no shower time. There is no eat time or snack time. So my advice always is in the morning, take food to your room. You treat the players till 6:30. And sometimes you only have an hour to treat because the coach wants to have a technical session with the team an hour before. And then he wants to meet the management of the team. And that's an half an hour meeting to plan for the next day or to discuss issues. Dinner at 7. Then the team meets and tactics are discussed or teams are announced. And then in a time after 7:30, after the team meeting, when everybody goes off, the coaches go off to complete reports. You go off to complete your report, and I'll explain the reports later to you, for your team doctor and your coach, because the coach wants an update as soon as that session is finished. As you can see, our practice serves hockey, athletics, and rugby, so we're quite a versatile practice. But as you can also see there, if you're comfortable only working in a beautiful hospital environment, if you look at my partner, my colleague there on the hockey field, that's where you do your job. You could be somewhere in a strange place. There's no perfect world for you with a sports team. On match day for a rugby team, all the players get to go to the gym. They call it activation for the muscles, but they all go to the gym at 6 o'clock. The team that is playing would only do fast burst activities, short period, maybe 30 minutes, and then go do recovery work. Whereas the players that are not playing would get a full-on gym session. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., treat the non-players. Then you get a small break. They do their pre-match meal normally 4 hours before the match, so you need to be aware of the schedule. You get strapping time. As you can see, it's never more than 45 minutes. You travel to the venue, and sometimes you, like at the World Cup, we did some of the strapping on the bus. And then there's a challenge. There is some players that want you to strap them only at the stadium, and some of them that has got a wonderful request to ask you to strap them only when they're standing in the tunnel before they run onto the field. But when the warm-up happens, you help with loosening up players and watch for injuries, because I've seen some silly injuries in my life. Rugby players thinking they can balance on balls to show off. Soccer players doing the same and then breaking ankles. Match takes place. And that is where a lot of people that don't know sports physios think the day ends. That's not true. The one physio, if there's two, goes into the cloakroom, ensures that the players go for ice baths. The other physiotherapist goes to drug testing, and I've had some very interesting experiences there. We do some basic treatment in the cloakroom. Luckily, with international rugby, the facilities are quite good. If anybody was admitted to hospital, you would then hop on a car and go off to the hospital and sit there until the player are managed or stabilized. If he needs to stay over, you choose who stays behind. Just about ice baths, there's an interesting study done by some sports scientists, and they say if you want to find out the temperament of your player, check who's the ones that don't want to go into the ice baths. They are going to be your problem players, and that's about the easy way to figure that bit out. After a match with the national rugby teams, you will see there's people running while there's interviews. That is the non-players, or a player that maybe got onto the field in the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But the coach expects the non-players or all the players to complete, if it's a rugby game, it's 80 minutes. It's a football game, 90 minutes of training before they go home. And then you complete your report for the coach. And as you notice there, sadly, you see people, the Dutch team at the World Cup, posing with their babies, and the wife hugs them. You as the physio and the doctor do not have that luxury of getting to your family and chatting with them, because there is a player screaming, there's somebody at the hospital, the drug testing people are waiting for you. Life as a physio is very demanding. At least you see that my players smiling, being strapped. That's a good sign. They're in a good mood. As you can see, that's in a hotel room that we had to modify to be our treatment area. So don't expect a perfect world. Adapt to where you are. Be adaptable. Match days can be crazy. Stay cool, stay calm, stay collected. Know your ABCs. World Rugby's got really good courses, FIFA also. But check your airway, check the breathing like you were trained, check the circulation, check for disability, check the environment, and that is re-evaluate if you're not sure. If you've been waiting with a player for a little while, you start again ABC and you go to E again. But you don't stop doing that until you get the player moved to where you should be. If you're closest to the action, that's my colleagues at the rugby tournament. You're going to be ending up being the person handling the balls. So if you are working with a team, make sure that you do your drill before with the team doctor or with the match doctors and the ambulance people, so that your instructions is clear and everybody understands what signals the referee makes. You know this, the referee knows the signals you make, and you have somebody to back up. Interviews. Please do not fall into the trap of answering questions to people unless you're a media manager or the team manager. Unless the team delegates you to go to an interview. I've done a few TV programs. You only share what the team tells you to share, because interviewers are clever and you might just be saying things that could offend the player or could offend the team. So I would say just stay in your lane and respect your role. As you can see, your patience in rugby, I'm not big, small people. I'm the small guy. They are big people, but they're friendly people. And I think that is why I've got this affinity for rugby. That's New Zealand's captain at the 2015 World Cup, good guy. On the left side is the Namibian rugby team's coaching staff that qualified for the 2015 World Cup. Interestingly, this is something I never considered as a student, that my coach would be in a wheelchair. This gentleman was actually a professional rugby player that ended up being paralyzed after a motor vehicle accident. But believe me, that quickie wheelchair can go as fast across the field as a coach that runs normally. So don't underestimate people in wheelchairs. And there's no reason why a disabled person cannot coach a team. So respect to him. Reports. Before you leave with the team, before you go to a game, you need to issue a clearance report to the club, to the team coach, or your team doctor, depending on. Sometimes, like in South Africa, the head of the medical committee is a physiotherapist, actually. But they want reports. Then there's a daily clearance report. So at the end of the day, I'll explain it to you in the colors. At the end of the day, you complete the daily clearance report and the treatment report, and the coach wants to see. And please, guys, the coaches that we have now are knowledgeable about what we do. So don't think you'll fool them. Then, if the tournament is over, before the player returns to his club, you need to issue a release report. Especially if the players from an overseas team, they expect you to give a comprehensive feedback to them. And that's always good to have a good relationship with the clubs where your players come from, because they help. But we use the coding system that is pretty simple, green. So we color that person's name in green. That tells the coach the player is ready to train. If it's in yellow, he's not allowed to take contact, but he can do skills training and he's there for rehabilitation, but he's at the field. If the player is red, he can sit there on the side of the field, or he would be in the hospital or staying in the hotel room, but you would not be training or playing. If it's a concussion case, soccer and rugby, FIFA and World Rugby, all follow the same graduated return to play protocol nowadays. So be familiar with it so that you competently manage that players. But if you're not sure, my advice is keep the player off the field, because the sportsman earns money by being in the team. Otherwise, they don't get their match fee. They just get their salary, and that's their life. Or for the guys from Nairobi, they will be using different stadiums. If you move to the next venue, on the day of the match in the morning, normally we do our normal gym routine. We treat the non-playing players till 11 o'clock, depending on what time the pre-match meal is. My advice to you is, before you even go to the pre-match meal, go pack your clothes away. Leave clothes on the bed for what you need when you come back from the stadium or for the next morning. Anything else goes into your suitcase. Load in your equipment into the boxes, seal them, mark them, tick them off on your stock list. Give your match day bag to the team manager so he can take it to the stadium. Same with the game ready ice machine. And we take some limited equipment also to the stadium, just in case that we on a bus trip. In England, we were on a 9-hour bus trip to the next venue. And we use fracture boards that we put on top of the chairs. And we ended up making beds out of that thing. So by the time we reached the hotel, we already treated all our equipment. But your stuff goes on a truck and it's gone on its way back to the next stadium already. So don't make sure that whatever needs to go on is in. So your checklist helps you. You do your match, you do your assessments, you do your drug testing, you write your reports. Normally, same story, 5 a.m. recovery. The bus gets packed by everybody. The first, you don't stand hands folded, because if you don't watch where your stuff is going, your stuff might just not be going into that bus. And then it leaves for the next venue. Just for your information, if you go to the Soccer World Cup or the Rugby World Cup, your equipment, your strapping, all leaves 6 months before the actual tournament. So you really need to know what you're going to need for 6 weeks, friendly matches and training, because the customs people need to check your equipment for items that is not allowed in the country. And if it's electronic equipment, only certain stuff is allowed. They could have a banning order on certain equipment. For example, in South Africa, we do not allow Internox, this mixture of nitrous oxides and oxygen for pain relief, where it's very common in Europe. So if you come to South Africa and you have what they see, everybody's talk about this green whistle. In South Africa, they will allow the visiting team to use it, but not the South African teams. As soon as you arrive at the next venue, you are not going to line your bed and stretch out. You're going to pack your room. So I always draw up a plan before I leave home country of how I want the room structured, and I stick it up on the door. I stick up my treatment schedule and I inform the players, please, to come put up their names to treat. You complete all those reports. Moving is as bad as a match day. At the World Cup, you get off 1 day in the week. That is if you have a doctor and another physio with you. There would be a doctor. But the program would be you treat players from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock, depending on who is coming. Some wants to come early, some wants to sleep in. Everybody goes for breakfast, and then they get the day off to sightsee or sleep. World Rugby, I'm not sure about FIFA because they've never done it for us. But World Rugby actually gives you some spending money to pay for your meals, for lunch and dinner. You expected back at the team 6 o'clock. The team meets. We check if anybody disappeared. We have our dinner. And then from 8 o'clock, we start treating our players, and then we complete our daily report for the players. So as you can see, it's reports, reports, reports. It's a lot of paperwork. And that doesn't even include your notes that you still have to do about each player. We had a very cohesive group at the World Cup, so that was actually nice. That instead of us breaking up, splitting, we all went to the same places. And that helps a lot to bond and get help from even the team psychologist in our team. Last day of the tournament, so the players walk around the field, they greet the crowd. If you go check Namibia's photos, you'll see in the 2015 tournament, you do not see the medical people. They're already busy in the drug testing room. They're making sure that the ice baths were ready. But on the last day of the tournament, you do your normal morning routine, and as early as possible, even the previous night already, you start packing up your equipment. So you cut off the players early. You seal your boxes. You pack your personal bags, and you personally hand them in, and explain later why. You personally hand it into your team manager. You do some minor treatments in the morning, attend to their match day needs, at the match, obviously. And at the same time, before you go to the stadium, you pack your dress kit that you need to wear on the aeroplane. Sport teams love their clothing. Check that your passport is where it is and that your tickets is in a safe place. Normally, the manager keeps our passport, so that's the wisest thing to do if you're new with the team. But the match takes place. We do the whole media thing, team meetings. And then in rugby, they have a thing called a contiki. It's a meeting where they issue fines. So if the physio has been late for the bus, you're going to get fined. I think I'd rather not expand on what happens in these meetings, but what I can tell you is with some teams, it involves giving you strange concoctions to drink, and you've been beaten up by your team with sticks or shoes or whatever. And then people go party. Be very careful. You've been on the road 6 weeks, 3 months. World Cup is 3 months. Go sleep and don't miss the bus. Because once the bus goes, the foreign drivers don't wait for you. I normally use the time rather to complete my tournament report, complete my players' release letters, so that I don't have to go do any work and when I reach my my home station. Just to get a little bit to pre-season, because that's something I didn't talk about earlier. Please don't think that you just pitch up at the training field and you stand there with your beautiful arms. Nope. You go and assist the logistics people and the coaches to put stuff out. Because sometimes you also want to do rehab. If you at the match day venue, train with the local people so they understand how you plan and how the doctor wants it and what to do. Simulate it, get the instructions clear, and decide that who will take charge, and make sure that everybody that starts in the training, like in this case, this 5 people, this is a match doctor and this is a match doctor. That lady stays in that position if there is a transfer in the match. This gentleman stays where he is, this person and that person. You do not go stand in a different place and choose where you go, because we've seen players being tipped off fracture boards because everybody's pulling in different directions. Some players do not like ice baths. I was fortunate, my players didn't fight with me, so they loved it. Please just remember, in pre-season, there is no pretty room to go and treat people in. Foam rolling under gazebo, treatment under gazebo, open air, ice baths in the open air. You're lucky if you have a space at the hotel, because you spend most of your day outside. And the same goes for the friendly matches they play. So let me share a little bit a few weird experiences I had. And these things definitely was never in my syllabus. Firstly, I did not know that I needed to look at the book every day and know what golf shirt, what t-shirt, what shorts, what socks, what tackies, what shoes to wear. If you did not, is a fine involved. If you obviously insult World Rugby in FIFA, it's a huge monetary fine. Like I said, World Rugby, it's £5,000. On my first tour, the whole team, including myself, got locked up in jail at the airport because they are professional players. Nobody applied for work visas, which apparently we were supposed to do because we were coming for sort of a pre-season visit. I must say the Kenyans never did that to us. They are very nice people, Jumbo. But our coach and our team manager had to be let through to drive into the capital of the city to find the Minister of Sport, to get that Minister of Sport to get us released from this jail at this airport. And here's the media waiting for this smart rugby team pitching up, and the rugby team's people are standing behind bars. By the way, I've seen Mozambique's team in Senegal stuck also in Nairobi in the locker room because they also had similar type of issues. When I went to Tunisia, the first thing I always do when I get to a field is ask them, where's the medical room when we train? No answers. On match day, the gentleman showed me where he stores his paint and his spades and his forks. And he said, if you want to, you can clean that place out. That's the medical room. I had to clean it. I had no problem with that. If you go to Tunisia, something that I never knew, because this does not happen in other countries. You yourself as an individual, when you get to the airport and you leave the country, must go buy a custom sticker. You pay for it yourself. You need to put that sticker in your passport. And that's not the team's problem. I nearly missed my aeroplane trying to find a sticker that fell because I was told by somebody not to make the sticker wet and stick it on the page because they'll get upset. In Senegal at the Rugby Africa World Cup qualifiers, we arrived at the stadium that we trained at and the army was there. They pointed guns at our heads and they told us, there's new rules. Nobody warms up on the grass. I did not know sport teams do not warm up on grass. They didn't want us to wear boots because it was a tartan track around the field until the match started. And then as we were busy there, we noticed there was still an uncle with a small lawnmower cutting the grass. And he was halfway done. And that's a few hours before the match had to start. And that's a World Cup qualifier. In Madagascar, no offense goes to any Madagascan citizenship, but because of the chemicals and the sewerage systems, the ground under the grass, if you get the grass burn, at some stage, I ended up looking after the Kenyan team also because he ran out of hands. He was overloaded. The players' legs turned septic. So we sat with a lot of septic wounds for the whole time that we were in that place. In Romania, one of our players had a C5, C6 fracture dislocation. The tour was over. Remember what I told you earlier? Everybody forgets the medical guy. I packed my bags to go home and I was said, no. The doctor will be going with the team. You need to stay. I ended up staying 3 weeks in Bucharest, living in a hotel, visiting a player that was lying in traction until they could do surgery on him. And then SA Rugby was so kind to send one of their physiotherapists to replace me. And he ended up bringing the player back home after the surgery. Like I told you, our coach is paraplegic. They lost his wheelchair, the cookie wheelchair. They lost his clothes. So my first day was spent trying to find a chair. And what could we find? A normal household wheelchair. And that means this poor gentleman could not cross the field to coach. He got to the point where he was so frustrated, he refused to leave his room to coach the team. And I think that contributed to him quitting 6 months before the World Cup started. We never got the wheelchair back. We moved from Tunisia to Istanbul. Still no wheelchair, still no clothes for the gentleman. So he went home and we went on to Romania, and we had to work with an assistant coach because our coach left. I felt bad for him. Just so you know, now I at least know also the waiting areas for special passengers at international airports, especially in Africa, is shocking. It's uncomfortable, it's badly ventilated, and you never know what's going to happen because nobody says nothing to you. But because I was a physio, my coach is paraplegic, I was expected to leave my players and sit with the coach wherever we flew, and made sure I sat next to him so that he could get into the plane. Funny thing, now this is a paraplegic man. He gets pushed in a wheelchair to the aeroplane. We get to the aeroplane door, and what does the hostess ask him? Would you mind walking to your seat? I just shook my head. At the World Junior Athletic Championships, I first didn't know what to do, but my name came over the sound system, and I thought, now I'm going to be famous. One of my players were looking for me. The manager said, go to the pole vault area, and I got there, and he told me it's morning time, and his pole vault is stiff, and you're the physio, please help me warm up this thing. I have never been trained to warm up a pole for pole vault. But we got hot packs, typical physio crazy stuff. Hot packs, hot water, kettles, threw it over his pole, and someone got it loose. This is a naughty one. We flew to the World Cup in England. Now, what we do on long flights is we give the players melatonin because it's acceptable. Melatonin is a drug that helps you sleep easier so that the players don't sit and watch a series or movies the whole trip through. So I took half of the tablets, the doctor took half of the tablets, and the kind player offered to help me hand out the tablets because I knew I could just count what he had left and I would know if he was up to much nonsense. But we handed out the tablets to the players, and I went to my cubicle, and the next minute the lady hits me, it's the hostess, and she says, sir, your whole team is dressed. We are 15 minutes, no, so 20 minutes away from London. You better get up. These guys actually loaded my cool drink full of melatonin. So I was drugged. So be alert what you drink and watch your players. Some of them can be naughty and mischievous. This was a tricky one for me, but I think as a professional physiotherapist, it developed me immensely. To meet a person, I think he's had the most injuries of any rugby I've ever seen in my life. This was the Namibian captain, Jacques Burger. Broke the cheekbones on both sides, nerve, brachial plexus damage. He's had multiple arthroscopies for his shoulders, multiple rib fractures. He has torn quadriceps in both his legs. He had a high tibial osteotomy to correct injuries that happen from overuse. He had to have a lateral tendon release on his patella. But that message was taken in 2015. By then he had more than that arthroscopic surgeries. This player has been concussed many times. He is rated as one of the, still at this stage, as one of the world's top 6 defenders in rugby. Played for Saracens in England. At that stage, concussion was not so worried about, so he had many concussions. He arrived at the team with his own physio equipment and his own strapping, and he strapped himself. And he would only allow me to do things that he told me to do. And I suppose if you have a big ego, you're going to be in trouble. But this just to explain to you how hard some sports are. This gentleman was in so much pain that for the first 3 days after match, he couldn't even walk. He would be lying in bed. Then we would get him on a bicycle on day 4. He would do some foam rolling and ice baths. By day 5, we would do some skills training and some contact. Captain's run is the last training session before match. He would avoid contact and he would play a match the next day. He never complained. I think he was the highest paid player in the team. Always respectful. Never wanted medication. Super fit. always first in the gym, always last to leave. If you want to learn a tip today, this person, first in the gym, last to leave, that's the guy that you make your buddy, because he's going to be the guy that backs you up. But it was not easy to be at the World Cup, experienced physiotherapist, and now you have been told by a player what you may and may not do. I choose the better route and I listen to him. And I think that's what built us up. The sad part of listening to him is, in our second last game, he was planning to retire in our last World Cup pool game. He got concussed in the first 10 minutes and he never played rugby again. It was the end of his career. So maybe I should have been more firm with him, and you could have stretched his career a bit longer. Pearls from this presentation. Keep educating yourself, please. Keep educating your players. They don't listen. We did all the World Rugby training, courses for drug testing, everything, and then they take the energy drinks, they hide their supplements. In this case, the player died on the field. And in my case, I've had 2 players testing positive for drug use. And they swore to me that they never in their life touched any of these bad things. If the team celebrates a goal, this is England's physio. Don't run with the players, please. I know everybody's excited, even last night, South Africa's people. This guy ran in the middle of the group, and when they got up, the physio was lying on the floor with a broken ankle. So let the players celebrate and you stay with the management, then you will be a safe guy. As a sports physiotherapist, read every day. Stay updated with latest protocols, because these organizations change protocols a lot. And make sure that you maintain good relationships with overseas clubs, with the clubs of the overseas players. Just go back, sorry, skip. If you're at home and you're a sports physiotherapist, please make the most of the time with your family, because in season, you miss a lot of special moments. It's not easy, but keep your sense of humor. Enjoy every moment, because that moment disappears. Check your stock all the time, and please don't trust the players with their TENS machine or the game ready machine. They're not going to return it, and they will say they never took it. So I had people sign things out if they need it. I'm going to skip this and I'll get back to this now. If they celebrate, like I said, don't jump with them. Your safety comes first. If there's an injury, make sure it's safe. Like they tell you in the courses, before you run the field to help. I think the biggest lesson here is accept that you cannot control every moment that's around you. And that player is unfortunately in the limelight, not you. He's the one that takes the knocks. He's the one that gets injured. So if he goes off the script, please accept it. For our good friends in Nairobi and in Kenya for the AFCON next year, always, and that's for any physio, get to know your coach well. For Stephen and Stella and the guys from Kenya, you have in your country Benny McCarthy. This man played at Porto, Manchester United, Ajax, Amsterdam. He's connected. If you do your job the way he's used to you doing your job, believe me, that coach are not going to forget you. And that's your ticket to, like one of the friends I know ended up with Paris Saint-Germain after being with the team. And that could be you. This is my beautiful wife, Joyce. She's also a physiotherapist. That's our beautiful daughter, Hannah. And the reason why I put this photo on is to refer to that first arrow. Believe me, keep these photos on you, because that's the only thing you'll see for some time. If you go to the World Cup and big tournaments, sometimes you don't get to see them at all. If you're lucky, like the Springboks, they fly in their wives, but not all teams are that wealthy, so appreciate them. And I think from my side, I would really publicly would want to thank my wife for being a very patient wife, because you come back frustrated and she has to hear your frustrations every day because you phone her, you message her. And then, of course, baby wants to talk to you. You miss milestones. So if you're there, please be part of it. And then lastly, to conclude, don't let your past define your future. Whether you're now at fourth year student or whether you are just working in the hospital, that does not mean that you could have been the guy running on the field for Bafana or Egypt last night. It is possible. I had a dream before I started studying, and my dream came true because I stuck to it. So don't give up. You don't have to give up. You have a valuable qualification that's respected. Use it and enjoy it. Thank you for attending the presentation, and I hope it was useful information.